Hello, it's me, your teacher, again for the third time. Wow. Okay, so we're going to just go through an example of a molten electrolyte in an electrolytic cell, and then we're going to have a practice writing a description of what is occurring. So we can see that we have our molten sodium chloride. So this is table salt that has been heated until it melts into a liquid, and we can see that something is happening here. We have a reaction occurring inside this cell. So here is a very rudimentary little, not really an animation thing for you to look at. So you've got your sodium chloride, and your sodium chloride has been broken up into its two ions, Na plus and Cl minus, due to the current present in this cell. You can see that you have your negative electrode, the cathode, and your positive electrode, the anode. So your chloride ion is going to head towards that positive anode. When it gets there, it is going to be oxidized, so its oxidation number is going to increase. It is going to lose an electron, and it is going to form chlorine gas, because chlorine is one of the elements that will like to hang around as a pair. So remember, that's hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and all of the group 7 halogens, so iodine, chlorine, bromine, etc. They like to hang around as a group, so they have that Cl minus has been oxidized to form Cl2. So what is happening at the anode? We have our Cl minus ions converted into Cl2 molecules at the anode, and here is the equation for that. So 2Cl minus gives Cl2 gas and 2 electrons. Is it being oxidized to reduce? Think about it. Use your brain. It's at the anode, so it must be oxidized. So anox, oxidation occurs at the anode. So that is a brief description of what is happening at one of the electrodes. So at the other end, at our other electrode, we need to describe what is happening here. So we have our negative cathode. Our sodium ion, our positively charged sodium ion, is floating along towards our negatively charged electrode. That sodium atom is then, that sodium ion, Na+, is then reduced to Na solid in its elemental form. So we're going to see a shiny silver sodium metal be deposited onto that cathode. The cathode will increase in mass, and as those sodium ions are removed from the liquid and reduced to form a solid metal. So again, what is happening at the cathode? Sodium Na plus ions are being converted into Na metal, or Na plus 1 electron gives sodium metal. And because it is happening at the cathode, red cat, reduction is happening. So use your words, have a practice. So go through the last few slides, listen to the video again, and use these points as a guide. So state your observations and link them to the species. So what would you see and what causes that to happen? Talk about which ions are formed when that current begins and which electrode do they head to and why. What happens at those electrodes? So do they lose or gain electrons? What is the change in oxidation number? And remember to be specific. Have they been oxidized or reduced? And remember to be specific with that too. So what have they been oxidized from and to? And then what are the equations for the reaction that is occurring in this cell? Once you have given that a right, come back to this video and I will go through an example answer for you. So you should pause the video and write something down and then come back. I'll wait. I've finished waiting. Okay. So an example answer is something like this. So sodium chloride breaks up into its ions, Na plus and Cl minus, which will then migrate towards their respective electrodes. Reduction occurs at the cathode, so the sodium ions that migrate towards that cathode will be reduced. They will gain electrons, as shown below. A shiny silver metal could be seen forming on the cathode as the sodium solid is formed. And then there is the reaction. Oxidation occurs at the anode, so the chloride ions that migrate towards the anode will be oxidized. They will lose electrons, as shown below. Bubbles of green gas could be seen as the chloride gas is formed. And there is the reaction. And the overall redox reaction for this process is 2 Na plus 2 Cl minus gives 2 Na and Cl